Hi, everyone. Welcome. Hi, everyone. Dude, this gets me literally every single time. We're about to have a super cozy little chat. I posted on my community page a Q&A because there's a lot of new people here and I just wanted to offer an opportunity to do a Q&A session. It's going to be super chill, super chatty. I've got my little green tea ready to go and I want to answer some of your questions. The first question comes from Tamara Drift. I'm so sorry if I'm mispronouncing that. You're super sweet in the comments, by the way, and just in general, like you just seem to have really good energy. Hi, I noticed all the art books in your latest video and I was wondering what your favorite ones are. I'm expanding our art book library and looking for some good ones. Okay, so depending on when this video comes out, I may or may not have done a full-blown like art book review. Notice the tower of books that I have right here. There are so many good books. In the event that I have not published that video yet, if I have, I'll put it in the description below. But just really quickly, if you want some suggestions, this book is really good. It's called Art and Fear. Like, look at all of those dog ears. Your girl has been busy. So it kind of goes through 3 different sections: internal challenges, external challenges, practical advice. It talks about like the fear and self-doubt. It also goes through your artistic identity, criticism, and rejection, which I think is healthy for us to explore as artists. Some of the practical advice goes through the routine of having a creative practice and the importance of that, which I'm a big advocate for, and also community and support, which I'm also a huge advocate for. And frankly, I'm finding that right here on this YouTube channel. I really love this book. It falls in the self-help and creativity genres. I would say that it's not super concrete solutions, but I really loved this book. The next book is gonna be The War of Art by Steven Pressfield. This goes through self-help, creative process. It also goes through writing. I absolutely love this book. He talks about 3 main components, which is resistance, turning pro, and then the creative muse, in which he feels he kind of has a mystical approach to creativity where he feels that creativity comes from like this higher power. And his word that he uses is muse. And so if you're kind of turned off by some of that mystical type of thing, just maybe try to stay open and try to, you know, if you're religious, consider it God or something like that. But this is a fantastic book. It's a staple. Both of these books you can read, depending on how fast you read, pretty quickly. And they're go-to books that you want to read and read again. I would say that The War of Art, he looks at creativity, less of it being a hobby and more of it being like a vocation that can ultimately kind of turn into a career. His writing style is super engaging. It's super concise and he breaks down complex ideas in a really simple way, which I love. I think there's practical wisdom. It's very insightful. It's very motivational. And I would say like, this is definitely a good book. The third book that I'll recommend right off the top, this is The Creative Act, A Way of Being by Rick Rubin. Rick Rubin is just a fascinating character to begin with. If you're not familiar with who he is, he's a music producer. He has helped create some of the most famous albums and worked with some of the most famous artists. He claims that he doesn't know anything about music, which I find fascinating given how incredibly successful he has been, but he's very much about the creative process. This falls in like self-help, creativity, and honestly, philosophy. Like this book is very philosophical. This particular book is not going to give you practical step-by-step guides. It's super accessible writing. I like the abstract nature of how he writes and how he presents creativity. He talks about creativity being like a way of life and how you shouldn't have life and then have creativity. Like your life should be creativity. And so he talks a lot about creativity as a state of being, nurturing the right environment and like the proper process, like really committing to the process of making art, whatever your art may be, which if you've watched some of my other videos, I'm a big proponent of that. He also talks about the artist journey and the importance of authenticity and vulnerability, just the willingness to take risks with your art and to be uncomfortable and to step outside of that comfort zone. And he's very much about like creating work that you like for you and not focusing on the audience. He always says the audience comes last, which I think is fascinating, especially while we're on the topic. I mean, this is a YouTube video. So many YouTubers I feel like create content for the audience, which naturally they should. But I think that when you're creating work that resonates with you, that either you would like to see out in the world or you wish you had out in the world at a certain point in time in your artistic or creative journey, that's what you should be creating. And what's ironic is like so many of the videos that on my channel that have, I don't have that many, but that have like totally popped off were videos I wish I had. And I created them because I was like, I don't see this stuff out there, or I see the completely opposite opinion out there. And so I wanted to create something that resonated with me. Let me let my dog out. Hold on. Oh my God, was that gross? Could you guys hear me slurping that? Sorry. Rick Rubin also talks a lot about mindfulness and meditation, and just like getting in the right headspace, allowing meditation to foster creativity. He really advocates for like tapping into your inner self and your inner creative and spending time exploring that. In doing so will help you unlock your creative potential and access more creativity. So I hope that answers those questions. If I've already done the full blown video, I'll link it below, but if not, those are some really great starting points that I can't recommend enough. There's also ones like Julia Cameron's The Artist Way, drawing on the right side of the brain. If you want a deeper dive, either stay tuned for that video to come out or check the link in the description because I already posted it. Okay. Someone here. My family on both sides, my immediate family and my wife's immediate family, we all track each other's locations. Wait, okay. Anyways, I was seeing if someone just pulled up because sometimes that happens. Where was I? Okay, so moving on to the next question. So Rebecca writes and says, what do you consider as art and being creative? Whew. Okay. How long do we want this video to be? I'm just kidding. I won't bore you guys. Okay. I created a video, ironically, before you asked this question called What Does Art Mean? And it's on my timeline. I've yet to post it. I may post it before this video comes out. If I have, don't click off this video yet, but watch that after this. I will answer this briefly, but I go into this in more detail. Like, what does art mean? What does it mean to me? And what I think it means to fellow creatives, and just in general, what I think art is. So first off, girl, you are on my brainwave. We're on the same brainwave. So check that out. But what I will say is, what do you consider as art? So for me, art is something that when you look at it, it makes you feel something. And that can be a very uncomfortable feeling. That could be a feeling of complete overwhelm. That could be joy. It could be happiness. It could be anger. To me, art stirs up something within you emotionally. It hits you like a ton of bricks, for better or for worse. And it makes you want to either learn more about the art, it makes you want to learn more about the artist, or it makes you want to potentially explore your own creativity. Art is something that you do for yourself. Art is something that hopefully you love and that you enjoy the creative process of it. And sometimes like that process is very messy and very dirty and ugly. Hopefully that kind of answers that question, at least how I view it. I personally am of the opinion that I think art is best when it is shared with the world. Story time. I hope I don't cry. I'm PMSing, so I might. I have a good friend who went through a really, really, really traumatic breakup. She kind of uprooted her life to be with this person, and they had made all these plans and were executing on these plans. And then she got completely blindsided, and was just kind of like moved completely away from friends and family to be with this person and for them to go create this life together. Gets there, and then he basically just was like, peace, whatever. Not a good situation. So I had dinner with her about a year ago, and it was just a nice one-on-one dinner, one of our favorite spots in Carlsbad, which is where I used to live. And she was talking to me. We're talking just about working through all of that stuff. And she had been to a few of my art shows. She basically told me that she writes these like really beautiful poems. And she was like, I really haven't shared this with anyone, but like I write these really beautiful poems. I mean, she has tried all different types of therapy. Like she's had a go at this breakup. And understandably so. It's been like, it was a traumatic set of circumstances. So she was like, you know, kind of talking through those poems. And I told her, I want you to know that like my abstract work, it's just trauma. It's me working through things emotionally that I don't have the proper way to like purge this from me besides getting into the studio, mixing up some paint and trying to make sense of it all. Those paintings, each and every one of them is a journal entry that I understand from my perspective and my pain and my happiness and just all of the complexities that make me me and the emotions that run, through me and whatnot. But when somebody views that painting, they're going to interpret that in their way, through their lens, through their pain, through their joy, etc. I encouraged her to share her art because I told her, I said, you never know who's reading, listening, watching, observing, and what an impact your work can make on them. You never know, and you never will know the true scale of that. Art is therapy, and art can heal, and art is connection, and art is community. Needless to say, she was terrified of the idea of sharing her work, and I just encouraged her. I said, when you're ready, no pressure, but if and when you ever are ready, I think you releasing that pain of this breakup and this traumatic time that you've gone through could help somebody else. And I think if you, like, her art was amazing. Like, she's phenomenal at what she does. And I was like, use that pain for good, because otherwise you're just harboring it all. And that's helpful, but like, open up the pages of that and share that with people. And so she wrote a book. I think she self-published on Amazon. I need to get the details. Comment below if you're interested and I'll add it to the description, like if she's comfortable or whatever. And she wrote like a foreword to me in the book. And I'm just so proud of her for doing that. So I personally think art should be shared with the world. I think you do yourself and others a disservice by not sharing it. And I realize that there's always going to be some pieces of work that are personal and private and don't maybe need to be shared. But I think generally speaking, art is best when shared. It's best when it's hanging on walls in people's homes. It's best when it's up in coffee shops. It's best when it's on, the side of buildings and billboards and on product. Like, this Kleenex box would be super boring if it was just like gray and dull. But instead they put some art on it, and it gets to be a little functional piece of artwork that you can put in your house and enjoy. I hope that answers the question. Art is everything. It's essential. It is life, and it's what makes our human existence worth it and important. So let's go back to the second part of her question, which is being creative. I guess that and art kind of goes hand in hand, but for me, what do I consider being creative? I think being creative, I talk about this in my What Does Art Mean video, but really briefly for those who want the answer right here and right now. If you're in a place in your journey where you're just starting out, or you feel like you're just starting out, being creative first and foremost is curating. You're scouring the world for things that you like. That could be music, that could be paintings, that could be plants, that could be, doesn't matter what, it could be home decoration, like could be style, like clothes, hats, whatever. But first you curate what you like. Therefore, you're a tastemaker. You have taste in a certain category or multiple categories, and you are probably pretty good at that. Maybe you're the person that has like the Spotify playlist that everybody loves. Like, Rebecca's always got this amazing music that she's playing. Like, can you share this playlist with me? That's being creative. I think when you take it a step further is when you not only consume and curate the things that you like, but then you also sort of blend them into this like melting pot that is you with your own little like seasoned to taste flavors, and then you share that with the world. Being creative can be a way of being. It can be a way that you live your life. If you like gardening and doing plants, like that's creative. It doesn't have to be making these beautiful arrangements. It can just be caring for something and being, creative enough to have the different varieties and the textures and things of that nature, which are things that you need in a work of art, and nature in and of itself is a work of art. So I think being creative is whatever it is, whatever you determine it to be. But for me personally, my creativity comes through in a ton of different ways. I love photography. I love videography. I like to write. I like to paint, like large scale acrylic abstracts. I like to doodle and mess around on my iPad with digital art and illustration. And I've been really getting into animating. I love doing DIY stuff, like any kind of upscaling or like art cycling, taking junk and trying to make something of it. Basically like not working with traditional canvas, for example, but taking like an old bottle or an old bag or something and repurposing that with art on it. I hope that answers that question. One, you're on my brainwave. Two, these are great questions that I feel like could be a whole topic of conversation, which I could totally go into. Okay, so let's go to the third question from Rebecca. What advice would you offer to someone who loves doodling but lacks manual skills and finds their doodles often disappointing? Asking for a friend. So first question I would ask to that, what about them is disappointing? This is my opinion, but like a doodle should be somewhat disappointing. It should be very loose. It should be very free. It's not necessarily a final piece of work. It's something that is loose and free that can then be expanded upon. When people want to learn how to draw, something that trips a lot of people up is they want to learn how to be really good at drawing, like doing photorealism or like hyperrealism or something like that. That is definitely admirable, and that's definitely like a skill that I, for one, don't have. I can't like accurately draw something. I mean, I can doodle it and it can look, you can tell obviously what it is, but it's not like, is this a photo or is this something someone drew? I'm not like that. And to be totally honest, I don't want to be like that. If I wanted a complete replica of something to look exactly as I see it with my eye, I would, to be completely honest, explore another component of my creativity and just take a photograph of it and do it that way. I like my art to err on the side of fun, free, colorful, bold, doodly, messy. That's just me personally. So if you love to doodle, but you lack the manual skills and you find your doodles often disappointing, I think the first step is to ask yourself, like, what are you trying to accomplish? Do you want to have more like sketchy, kind of pencil-y type of like sketches and doodles? Do you want to have really clean lines? Like what type of art are you wanting to produce first off? And if it's hyperrealism, it's just going to take a lot of time and a lot of practice. And I would highly recommend the book, Drawing from the Right Side of the Brain. There's like practices and stuff like that you can go through. I'll be posting more about that book in particular down the line. That, I guess, would be my advice. And I'm not this like super sick drawer, like I said, where I could, draw something beautiful and it looks, you wouldn't be able to tell that that's like not a real thing. But that's also, as an artist, not what I'm going for. I like to leave things up a little bit to the imagination. I like to have things be a little bit more simple. I think simple, what was it, Da Vinci that said simplicity is the highest form of sophistication? Like, if you can take a really complex idea and distill it down into a few component parts with your art, with your words, whatever, like, that's genius. I love that. I don't know if that answers the question, Rebecca, but I hope so. If not, drop a comment and I will double click on that and try to expand. Okay, so Nina, how did you get over the fear of starting a YouTube channel? I want to start, but I'm shy. I just went for it. I always wanted to have a YouTube channel. I have a video that says 35-year-old woman starts YouTube. I'll link it below. Definitely check that one out after this one, where I go more in depth about that, but more like backstory. But the short of it is kind of like I got over the fear of my art. I started producing all this work and I'm like, what am I going to do with this art? And then signed up for some shows, put myself out there, saw a little bit of success and was like, wow, I don't completely suck. And I connected with some really, really beautiful people. I think you just kind of have to have full blown f it mode and just send it and try it. And I think if you can get in the headspace, I think the fear, first off, is that you're going to be rejected. The fear is that there's going to be haters. And the fear is that you may not, I don't know, get the subscribers or the views that you want. All things that I thought through in my head and was fearful of. The reality is you're going to get haters. You may not see the success you want to see initially, and you may not hit the subscribers or views that you want, but you can control your luck if you create work that matters to you, that resonates with you, that is a true, authentic representation of yourself and not a YouTube version of you. And if you just keep going, you will eventually, if you keep going, try to get a little bit better every single video, try something new or what have you, but just stay consistent and give yourself a time frame and focus on input goals rather than output goals. I think you can kick some ass. And what I mean by input goals is there are certain things in life you control. You control how many videos that you can record, edit, and publish. You have total control over that. What you can't control is people that might write a mean comment. You can't control how many subscribers you're going to get. You can't control how many views you're going to get. You can certainly try your hand at SEO practices and things like that to try and give yourself like a better boost up. Rich Roll has a really great quote that says, mood follows action. And I think you just have to take action. You're going to be fearful. People, I'm sure some of the biggest YouTubers still have some sort of fear to some degree of posting on YouTube. When they start, it's probably fear that nobody will watch this and I'll only get a few views and I won't get subscribers and nobody's going to care what I have to say. And then to their surprise, people do care what they have to say. And then they flip to, oh my God, I'm fearful that I'm going to lose these people because, I want to go this new direction, or there's always something to worry about. And I think if you could just put, honestly, okay, this is super woo-woo, but that's like very low vibrational energy and we all have it, like myself included. We just have to find ways to harness that and try to like raise that level of energy, like get rid of the bad vibes and go for the good vibes of just like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to commit to this. I'm going to put this out there and see what happens, and just stay completely open and receptive to what may happen. And if the haters come, block them, delete their comment, move on. And just keep doing you. And if you're shy and you're a little bit camera shy, you can practice first. There's a lot of videos that I probably never published and may never publish just because they weren't good. But it was the videos that I quit thinking about too much and didn't overthink and just sat down and created them that turned out great. My iPad mini video that I created that blew my channel up, I literally was testing a microphone on my camera, sat down and was like, instead of just being like, hi, I'm testing my audio for my YouTube video, I sat down and was like, I'm going to make a video about my iPad mini. It's right here because I love this thing and I'm actually going to practice talking to the camera. And to my surprise, that video exploded. Just go for it. What's the worst that could happen? We all have fear. You just kind of have to lean into that as fuel versus letting that sort of overpower you and cripple you into not doing anything. Let that fear be fuel to generate action instead of inaction. I hope that was helpful. Moving on to Mike. Have you considered doing live videos of your process? I love watching other artists' creative process. I have considered this actually. I work primarily from an iPad Pro and I have my iPad mini. I would have to figure out the logistics of streaming, but I'm more than happy to figure that out in the event that that's interesting to people. I think it would be kind of cool to do lives and make it more chatty because I can I'm not sure. I would have to practice making art and engaging with a live audience while I'm doing that, if that makes sense. Typically if I've made art in front of an audience, actual people around, I'm just laser focused on my art in the act of creating. And so I would feel pressure, if I'm being totally honest, doing a live video, making my art, the pressure I would feel would be that I wouldn't engage with you guys enough because I'm not sure how, I guess I could do it on my MacBook. I'm just not sure logistically how that would work. Like, am I drawing and then I like look up at a screen and I can see the chat going and I'm trying to catch up on it and answer questions and stuff like that? Like, I don't know how helpful that would be. I have ADHD and I do not take medicine, and I don't know that I can simultaneously do both of those things well. I feel like we would get chatty in the comment section and I would completely lose track of what I was doing on the iPad, or I would be so hyper-focused on what I was doing on the iPad that I would lose track of the comment section and y'all would have all these questions and I would not engage with you. So I do worry about that, but if that's something that like a lot of people want, I'm happy to figure that out and we can go from there. Sandra said, when you were feeling overwhelmed, what helps you to get started? This is a great question. I get overwhelmed a lot. I used to really severely suffer from analysis paralysis and just like the inability to get going. And I feel overwhelmed a lot. I'm one of those people that, I'm pulling my covers here. I will create the longest to-do list that is so major overachiever status when I create a to-do list, way overconfident and unrealistic about what I can actually get done in a day. Cause I will have like a list of things to do. And then I walk by my garden beds or something, walk by like my perennial beds and I see a bunch of weeds and I will just take the next 2 hours weeding the bed and then planting new plants. And then before I know, the day's gone away and I'm like, what the hell? I just completely disregarded my entire to-do list, but that's not helpful. So when you are feeling overwhelmed, what helps you get started? For me, I get overwhelmed with my to-do list, which is totally self-inflicted, but I also have to create that for myself because I need some type of rigidity or some type of plan, even if it is flexible. What I do in that event is I will look at that list and say, what is the one thing on here that will help me get closer to my goal? And whatever that goal may be. If that goal is YouTube, then I look through that list and I try to pluck out the one thing that will help me get towards that. There is actually a fantastic book called The One Thing by Gary Keller. Fascinating. And definitely recommend it. That may not be practical enough. Some other tips of practical advice. This is so simple, but so incredibly impactful. I go for a walk. I quite literally take a hike. I will walk around my neighborhood for 20 to 45 minutes, focusing on my breath, focusing on the world around me, trying to listen to the bees and the birds, looking at all the sights, like really being present and finding my breath and just being in my body and outside of my head. There have been major moments for me when I have solved like total riddles and total problems by just stepping away for a moment and going for a walk and letting my mind and nerves and everything sort of process in a way that I think is healthy for me. That may not work for you, or if you're not physically able to go for a walk, I would recommend setting a timer for like 10 minutes or going on YouTube and looking for like some type of meditative video and just meditate for 10 minutes and really like close your mind's eye and just find your breath and like breathe in through your nose and out through your nose and just try to like focus on the rising and the falling of your chest. That can sort of ease anxiety for me and ease overwhelm. And then I look back at the to-do list, ask myself, what is the one thing that I need to do that will help me get closer to my goal? And if it's make a YouTube video, maybe I don't have the energy to do that day. So I just make a list of like 5 to 10 video ideas. I'm not making the YouTube video, but I am helping my future self by creating some ideas. I hope that's helpful in what I would do to help me get started if I feel overwhelmed. Baby steps, little tiny baby steps. Sandra has 4 more questions. How did you get into art? Great question. I've always been creative since I was like a little kid. I was always making something, like going out into the woods, getting sticks, making these little figurines, painting Christmas cards with watercolors. For as long as I can remember, I've been creative in some way, shape, or form. just making things, I guess is a better way to put it. I did make another video about getting back into art. I don't remember which one it was. It's linked below. I've always been making things for as long as I can remember, but I got into painting probably over 10 years ago or so. I had a trip to Italy. I was super fortunate to go on this trip. And naturally, Italy is just a country full of creativity. Like the buildings are beautiful. The architecture is beautiful. The history is beautiful. There's so many museums and you get to see these incredible works of art that, some of the greatest artists that have ever lived have created. And so naturally, I just had so much creative energy after going to Italy. I was like, I have got to get this out. And will.i.am talks a lot about creativity as a sponge and how you kind of like absorb things in the world around you. And then, Rebecca, this kind of answers your question from earlier too. And then you have to like rinse that sponge and like purge that. And so that was my initial purging when I got into painting with oils, which that was a disaster. My dog ended up eating a bunch of oil tubes and getting them all over my apartment. Talk about fun. That was not fun. But needless to say, I started creating, I started reaching out to other artists. I started having them like critique some of my work. It was not good, but I met some really cool and unique people. I wasn't good, but I just kept going. I tried getting into galleries. They denied me. I just was so young and naive in my journey, but I didn't really care. I was like, I like doing this and I want to, put this out in the world. And at the time, social media, I guess it existed 10 years ago, but nothing like it was today. And like galleries were kind of snooty, if I'm honest with you, but also I sucked. So that is what it is. Anyways, I got back into art when the pandemic hit because I was super stressed. I had a business at the time and obviously the supply chain was affecting that. And so I was terrified that I was going to lose this business. We employed like 25 to 35 people and I was just dealing with emotions and I went sober at that time as well. And so it was just a lot for me to process mentally, physically, all the above. So I turned to art and I turned to just like working through those emotions in a productive and creative way. And I turned to abstract and, which I had done previously. And then I had all this body of work and I started showing it and saw success. And then kind of the rest is history. I didn't really stop. I just kind of kept going and continue to, honestly, for the rest of my life. I don't know what the future of my art will be, what it'll look like. Will I get into ceramics? Will I get into metalworking? I have no idea, but I try to not stay too rigid in that. And I try to allow myself the flexibility to explore creatively whatever that may look like or mean for me. How many plants do you have? I love this question. A lot, like hundreds if you count all the little seedlings, all the little garden starts. Here's one that's my favorite. A friend gave me this clipping. It's variegated ivy, and I love this little like purple periwinkle pot. I just think it's so cute. But like, seriously, look at is it focusing? I can't tell. This thing's delayed. But I love the variegations in this. There's also, let me go get it, my begonia. Oh, I love that. Hold on. Can you guys see this? Can you see this? So this is my angel wing begonia. I'm obsessed with this plant. It's completely out of control, and I kind of love her for that. She's thriving in this big picture window in our kitchen, like tons of new growth. Look at this. It's like this beautiful, like deep burgundy with, I love the like chartreusey lime green of the new growth, but then you've got these cute little like polka dots, like, and then just the angel wing. Like this plant, I need to cut this and obviously like repot her. She is massive. Where can I put her? So she's okay. She's funky. She's fun. Like that's one of my favorite plants. She's getting a little bit unruly and I need to maybe stake her or something. I'll figure it out. So how many plants do I have? Way way too many, but also, oh, and I love my stag head fern too. I love them all. I have too many plants, but also not enough, if you know what I mean. What is your goal with YouTube? Great question. My goal with YouTube, well, my only goal with YouTube is to continue to publish at least one video a week for the next year or two and see what happens and see where it goes. Would I love to gain subscribers and make a living off of YouTube? Absolutely. But that's not my primary goal. My primary goal with YouTube is a creative outlet to focus on the things on this platform that I can control. Being nice in the comments, putting content out that is a true representation of me and not something that just feeds the algorithm for the sake of feeding the algorithm. And hopefully to build a community of like-minded creative people that are supportive, not just of me by watching the videos, but leaving really kind and generous comments in the comment section and helping other people out. I think it'd be cool to do a Discord or something one day to have everybody just chatting and having words of encouragement and things like that. Obviously not just a toxic echo chamber, because, it can be hard. The creative process is challenging, to say the least, but I think it's all about mindset and how you approach it and how you look at things. And so making these videos, and I'm enjoying it. And so that's my goal, is to stay consistent with that. And then secondarily is to build a really cool community around these videos that can, continue to serve other people and helping them be more creative, helping them tap into their creativity, whatever it may be, or just have a good time, That's what we're here for. And the last question here is, what would an ideal day look like? Oh man, I love this question. An ideal day for me looks like, first off, that I had a great night's sleep the night before, if that counts, which it does technically, because I'm sleeping for a good portion of the first part of it. I wake up early, maybe around 5:30, well rested, because I went to bed early the night before. And I have a delicious cup of double shot of espresso with heavy whipping cream. I drink 2 of those while I journal, while I read, while I meditate, maybe go for a walk outside and just sort of immerse myself in nature and some morning sunlight. Then I would drink my little electrolyte powders that I drink, and then I would start my list. If I didn't have my list written from the night before, which I usually do for what I would do that day, I would go through the list and make any adjustments to what I wanted to achieve that day. But an ideal day would typically involve being creative in some way, shape, or form, whether that's making videos, whether that's making digital art, whether that's painting physically with traditional media. It would involve really good home-cooked meals that are fresh, simple ingredients, ideally from the garden. It would involve really good music, lots of hydration, because I love water. I'm a big water person. I had this whole reverse osmosis thing in the house and everything. I'm a big water person. And a really great conversation with a loved one or a friend that's not just about the weather or something basic, but a deep, connective conversation about something that matters to them or to us. Moving my body physically in some intentional way, making somebody's day and letting them feel noticed. I really try my best to, when I can notice that somebody, a grocery store worker or something like that, is having a bad day or just dealt with a really nasty customer, I try to notice them, and I try to give compliments to them, or just try to make their day or try to ask them questions, because, people can beat other people up sometimes. And so I would want that, and being in the sun, and then probably getting my hands in some type of dirt, whether that's replanting something, harvesting from the garden, and then probably just having a really healthy home cooked meal with my wife, and us having really good conversation over dinner, us probably laughing until we cry at something, which happens fairly often, and spending time with, our animals. And yeah, I think that would be an ideal day. Oh, and then like completing some things off my to-do list that like, one, felt good, and two, helped me with discipline, whether that was like working out or something like that. And then also something that gets me one step closer to my goals, whatever that may be. Okay, so I hope this Q&A session was helpful. I hope that I answered everybody's questions I answered them to the best of my ability. I hope that you received what you were seeking out of that. And if not, shoot me an email or a DM on Instagram. I'm not really publishing that much on Instagram anymore. I haven't for like a year and a half or 2 years or something. Probably should get back on that, but I love YouTube. What can I say? Thank you guys so much for the people that chose to reach out to me and ask these questions. If this is something helpful, I'm happy to do this again. If you have any additional questions in the comment section, drop them below and I'm happy to answer them. So I hope you're having an awesome week, and wherever you are, good morning, good night, and happy creating. All right. Bye.